Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for an Oikos remix. Like a crunchy storm of sea salt praline pretzels, dark chocolate, and butter toffee, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 Oikos Remix varieties with epic mix-ins and 11 grams of complete protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
This is Let the Record Show, using common sense. Now, here are your hosts, Judge Richard Weinberg and Chairman Jesse Garcia.
Welcome back. Phoning in just now is the great United States Senator from the state of West Virginia, senior member of the leadership of the Senate, chair of the Senate Republican Policy Committee, as well as chair of the Environmental Committee, Shelley Moore Capito, a great member of the Senate, previously a member of the United States House of Representatives, and before that, a member of the state legislature. Senator, we are absolutely delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Nice to be on. Thank you.
Your witness, Eric.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
So the House has finally passed their version of the one big, beautiful bill. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot to commend in the bill, but there are also some things that may not be so terrific or so wonderful. I'm just curious as to your view of what's being sent to the Senate and what you're hearing amongst your fellow Republican senators as to the thumbs up and the thumbs down portions of the bill.
Right. Well, they did, after working the Rules Committee. I was on the Rules Committee at one point. Thank goodness I wasn't the other night. And they worked all night. And then I say congratulations to the Speaker in the House for passing the bill, the reconciliation bill. These are tough, big bills, and it is one big, beautiful bill. I think the takeaway here is that the Republicans worked quickly to craft a bill that has a shared agenda and a unified set of priorities for all of us. It will be coming over to the House or over to the Senate, not next week, but the week after. We have ongoing discussions with the House on why certain things, the energy tax credits, individuals, the business. I could go on and on here. What kind of cutting was done? What kind of cutting was left undone? And so I think what you're going to see is the Senate react to the House bill and probably make some statements of our own through a bill that we would see here in the Senate would be representative of what we have. There are lots of common points, but I'm not going to say 100% would be exactly the same. Now, what those sticking points are right now, I think, remains to be seen. I think that we want to make sure that it's a pro-growth bill, and that it's strong for our country, pro-America, just like the president's reflecting that. But it has to be collaborative and bicameral. We do have certain rules in the Senate that will probably make us change the bill just from a parliamentary standpoint. So the exact bill would probably not even qualify here to be passed because we have a different set of rules, which is kind of complicated, but you probably know what I'm talking about. It's called the Byrd Rule.
Right.
So anyway, timeline, we're going to work it hard in June, and hopefully July 4th is pretty aggressive, but I think that's what we're looking towards.
Well, is there anything in particular in the House bill that leaps out at you that the Senate's going to look to change, roll back, enhance?
I think some of the tax provisions, I think, we want to make sure that we're hitting on all cylinders in terms of energy and energy production and ability to do all of the above. And I'm fine with phasing out solar and wind, but I do believe nuclear is exceedingly important if we're going to power data centers and create and be the superior country on AI, all of these things. So we need not just natural gas and coal, which I love, but we need a more reliable 24-hour baseload energy, and nuclear provides that. So I would look for some more nuclear maybe in this. I think on the individual side, I had a question earlier today. They said, well, the folks in the lower half of the income scale don't benefit. You know what? They would not benefit if their taxes went up. We're going to keep their taxes low. We also did a little more. I think they did a little more on small businesses and pass-throughs, which is good because that's the major employer in smaller states like mine. And I think, in terms of Medicaid, that's a difficult issue. And so I think we're going to take a good hard look at that to try to bend the curve on spending and get rid of the fraud and the waste in that. And so we may be more aggressive there. I don't really know. Those are probably the pinch points, I think. There's probably more, but we're going to have a little bit different approach and maybe have a higher tolerance for some tax issues on some level, or less tolerance depending on what the House has sent over.
Yes, I know you're talking about nuclear, and under the Republican version of an energy policy, all of the above, which I strongly endorse. I think it's absolutely the right way to go. It's interesting that the investment tax credits, some of these tax credits for some of the renewables, such as solar and wind, they just go for, under their bill as of May 20th, there was a phase-out starting in 2028. Under the bill that was sent to the Senate, it's off the cliff. They cease in 2028. That would seem to make it very difficult for investors and entrepreneurs to invest tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in solar energy infrastructure to ever want to do that. So it sounds like that's kind of counterintuitive to the concept of all the above if we're adopting policies that would undermine a particular and growing area in the energy industry.
Well, I'd like to see the tax code treat every source of energy in the same manner. But the fact is, we've been propping up solar and wind for a long time now, and they're reaching, I think, in some sense, a more critical point where they can fly on their own a little better than they could in the past. I think we'd agree with that. We see more deployment, more domestic manufacturing, and all of those things that will help with the longevity of our solar and wind and the expansion of it. But I still think our best bet is to look at energy resources in a holistic way and try to be as even-handed as we can.
So I know one of your pet projects, and one that I think we all support here, is the repeal of the EV mandate, the electric vehicle mandate. Can you just tell us where that stands and what you think the chances are of it actually being repealed and why it's important that it be repealed?
Well, I am here to report breaking news.
There you go,
Eric and everybody. We just repealed it this morning.
There you go, Mazel tov,
and it is on the way to the president's desk. And that was under my leadership. It was my bill. I worked it hard with the members that were concerned about some of the process issues. But basically what it does is California and 11 other states, plus the District of Columbia, had placed themselves under an EV mandate, or wanted to, under the Biden administration's consent, to only sell 30% of the cars in 2026 had to be EVs, and in 2035, all cars had to be EVs. Now, keep in mind, that means no gas-powered cars, but also no hybrids. And, that is a crushing economic thing. It gets rid of consumer choice in parts of my state and parts of New York. An electric vehicle is just not practical. It gets too cold. You got hills. You have no, you got range anxiety all over the place. Plus, you don't have the infrastructure to charge these. So I think, let's let the consumers choose what they want to drive. More people are buying electric, but it's kind of tailing off right now. And even in New York, you only have the vehicles that were sold last year, only 10% of those were EVs, and so next year it would have to jump to 30. Now, do you really think that that's reasonable? No. So we got rid of it.
Good. God bless you, Senator. A great accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so one of the great ironies when I'd always listen to people as to why they support the EVs is because it's so good for the climate under the climate cultists. But you'd ask them, where does the energy come from? Where does the electricity come from? You plug it in, but it doesn't just come out of a wall. So it turns out that states like California, they burn coal in Nevada in order to produce electricity in California so they can plug in their car. So in essence, it actually damages or has an increased carbon footprint, in particular since the amount of what it takes to make a battery for these things.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the batteries and then battery destruction. How long does the battery last? How heavy is the battery? What kind of wear is that going to be on the road? There's all these ancillary questions that nobody ever wants to get into. It's just what the emission is. But they're emitting so much more on the front end and on the back end than they ever account for.
But it helps them feel virtuous, and that's the important
Yes.
thing.
And of course, in India and China aren't involved in violating the integrity of the climate and the environment. Because,
India, China, the entire developing world, because for them, they need inexpensive, reliable fuel energy, and right now that's only fossil fuel.
Of course.
Well, if you look at our emissions in the United States over the last 15 years, to be honest, our emissions have gone down without all this onerous regulation. We've perfected our innovation. We've gotten more carbon capture. Fuel cars are more efficient. I mean, we're doing this, and without this, I left out one thing on the EV. If you sell in 2036, if you were to sell a gas-powered car in California, you'd have a $22,000 fine per car.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
Well, I think this is one of the most important pieces of legislation under the Congressional Review Act that's ever been done. Senator, your thoughts?
It's very far-reaching. It really is. I was proud to lead the effort, worked hard with my colleagues, worked with the House side. And I will have to give a shout out to my staff, even though nobody listening is going to know who they are. They really
I know who they are. That's all that matters. There you go.
The technical parts of this were very important, and they rose to the occasion for sure.
Senator, I want to turn this over for a few moments to Jesse Garcia, the Vice
Jesse,
Chair of the State
hi.
Party.
Senator Capito, it's a pleasure to have you here. And just a point of reference, I was the chief of staff to Congressman Grucci, who was elected in the 107th Congress when you were first elected to Congress. I know that our offices had worked together, so it was wonderful to work with you.
The firework king, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember him. Yeah.
Fantastic. But thank you for your work in the Congress, and now it's specifically in the Senate. I want to go back to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And one of the things that we've been doing, it's a two-part question. First, do you see President Trump working the Senate caucus the way he did in the House of Representatives to bring a number of different ideological or philosophical approaches together so that we can make sure that we don't have a massive tax increase? That's number one. And number two, how does the Senate and how does the Republican conference in both chambers combat the disinformation that we're seeing from the Democrats about cuts in Medicaid, cuts in SNAP, and how this bill is actually hurting people, as opposed to if no action is taking place, there's a historical tax increase of unprecedented proportions that's going to be laid upon everyone?
Well, I think these are both great questions. And the first one, will President Trump come in and be the closer that he was in the House for the Senate? I would imagine yes. There's nobody more persuasive. There's nobody obviously more committed. And, the president is also and has shown to be, to all of us in every aspect, a negotiator. He knows in order to get, you got to give, and to give, you got to get. And so I think that to be that one person that wants to be standing alone, just saying no, no, no all the time, while they may look non-persuadable, the president's shown a great talent of being able to persuade many of those people. Because remember, in the beginning of this week, the House Democrats were saying, or House Republicans were saying, no way, no way. And look, they passed it in the this morning. So I do think the president, and I won't even say if he's needed, because he's always going to be needed, and whether it's phone calls or coming to the Hill or having members down to see him, either or, I think the president is up and ready and will be very persuasive here. So that's yes. How do we combat Democrat disinformation, particularly on areas like Medicaid and SNAP? Obviously, these are programs created for people who can't, in many cases, care for themselves. They don't have enough money for food. Some of them have disabilities, and some of them have just, the vulnerable, and that's who we want to take care of. That's I think, what makes us so great as a country, in that we do take care of everybody as much as we possibly can. So what we have to say is, in order to take care of people, we've got to keep these programs viable for the people that deserve it. So if a Democrat wants to say to me, well, maybe 6,000 people might lose their coverage, guess what? Those 6,000 people weren't entitled to coverage. They were covered in 2 different states. They hadn't properly signed up. They started making more money than they need to make to stay on Medicaid. You can't stay on under those premises. They're here illegally. I mean, you could go on. So that, I think, when they say that you're cutting these benefits, you're basically ridding the program of folks that shouldn't be on it or are abusing the system. Why are we opposed to that? We should be, because that's going to make our tax dollars go farther and take care of those vulnerable people a heck of a lot better, because the program will be able to be run for a longer period of time and more efficiently. And so I think it is a hard argument to make, because it sounds so heartless, and you're looking at Medicaid and acting in the way it's portrayed. It's like you just don't care. And I think that that's a hard thing to fight through, but we're going to have to say we're doing this to preserve these programs, to make them work for the people who deserve it. And that, to me, is an easy case to make, even though I have a state who has a large population that's on Medicaid.
Custom window treatments are a small upgrade that have a big impact. No better time to shop than now at Blinds.com's Memorial Day Mega Sale. Blinds.com invented a better way to shop for window treatments, completely online with upfront pricing, no showroom markups, no salespeople in your home. Choose from classic shutters to outdoor shades and more, all backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Shop Blinds.com's Memorial Day Mega Sale now. Save up to 50% site-wide, plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
When a shopper places an order, you have one shot at winning them as a lifelong customer. I'm Al Coe, CEO of ShipStation. I'm obsessed with ShipStation being the most reliable and efficient way you can ship. At ShipStation, our promise is to make shipping easier for e-commerce business owners. We're focused on providing the most integrations with all the places you sell and automating manual tasks to make fulfillment easier for your team. We partner with all the major carriers to make sure you get the lowest possible rates, because every dollar counts. So no matter what you're sending or where you're shipping to, ShipStation can get it there fast and keep your customers happy. See for yourself how ShipStation can reduce the time and effort you spend on order fulfillment. Go to ShipStation.com to sign up for your free trial. That's ShipStation.com.
Senator, I want to switch gears. I'm going to turn you back to Eric in a moment. A matter of great concern to me, and it's related. One is the anti-Semitism that's rampant across the world, and we just saw the attack at the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C., where two young people lost their lives in a terrorist attack with a pro-Hamas attacker. So that's a big issue. And the other issue that also concerns me is Iran is getting perilously close to nuclear weapons. And I just want to make sure that the people around President Trump truly understand the danger it would be for Western civilization if, in fact, Iran were to get a nuclear weapon. Because remember, they keep saying Israel is the little Satan, America is the big Satan. Their game plan is to eliminate both. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me talk about the anti-Semitism. It's deeply troubling to me. Last night after we voted, we were in until about midnight last night, and I was going home in the car and heard about these two young people that were murdered at the Jewish Museum, basically like 5 blocks from where I live. And it was just shattering. And then you see the pictures of this gorgeous young couple that were in love and just doing what they love. And so just because they're Jewish, some wacko who's anti-Semitic and a pro-Hamas guns them down in cold blood. You know what? You guys probably do the same thing. But I mean, you think as a parent, what does that feel like when you get that phone call and find out what's happened? And so I think, I can't believe this is happening in our own country. I mean, honestly, when you see Columbia University, when you see some of the other universities, when you see these, what kills me is they have protests, pro-Hamas protests, and they all wear masks, so you can't figure out who they are. That's real brave.
Yeah, the cowards.
The cowards. And so I think we've got to, and I think the president has been very vocal on this. He's saying to schools that if you tolerate Semitism, you are not going to get federal funding. Good, because that violates federal law, and so you shouldn't be getting federal funding. And I just think we need to be as positive and teach our children and young people, because these are young people that are protesting and young people that are killing. That guy yesterday was, 20 or 25, but he was young, certainly by my standards, young. And how do you grow that heart? And that's what we got to watch out. Is it growing it here at home? Yes, I feel that it is. I don't think it's just more blatantly out there. I think it's bigger than it's been. I do think some of it's been hidden for a while. Now people decide that they, it's something they can do in public. I mean, they were burning their diplomas at Columbia yesterday or day before.
Well, it's about what they're worth, I guess.
But my gosh, think about, I don't know, the money that they paid for. If they're from a different country, they've come here, lived our freedoms, gotten our education, and then they do this. It's just sickening to me. So, yes, the anti-Semitism, I support the president's measures here. And I think that the college presidents and university presidents have been awakened to what has been a simmering pot on some universities, certainly not every one. And so we've got to make sure that we eliminate that.
Well, in large part, where I don't necessarily agree with you is that I don't know that the colleges, the administrators, and the faculty do get it. I actually think most of them support it. I don't think this is possible without the support of the administration and faculty. They give life to this. They teach this. They indoctrinate this. This is what social justice and diversity, equity, inclusion is all about. It is all you divide it between oppressors and oppressed. Oppressors are whites. The oppressed are people of color. Jews are whites, so therefore they can't be victims. So it's okay to attack them. That's the mantra.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I think if they haven't gotten a bit of a wake-up call by saying we're going to yank your $600 million, do they just cover it up? I mean, I don't know, but we got to find a solution here. And I just remembered I forgot the Iran question. I'm going to go to that. I just signed recently a letter, probably last week. Senator Cotton led. I think every Republican's on it, that basically says Iran not only cannot enrich for nuclear weapons, they can't enrich uranium at all.
Correct.
And if they need enriched uranium for a power sector, they can import it from somewhere else. They're untrustworthy. They're brutal. They want to kill, as was described. And so I think we have to come down in the strongest form possible to say no enrichment is the standard that we as Americans would tolerate.
Senator, I want to thank you very much on behalf of Chairman Garcia, Eric Levine, and myself. We've had the honor and privilege of having Senator Capito, the senior senator from West Virginia, the chair of the Senate Republican Policy Committee, as well as the chair of the Environmental Committee in the Senate. You're a great addition to our show. We deeply appreciate you sharing your thoughts and analysis with the American people. Senator, God bless you and God bless America. Thank you.
And have a great Memorial Day.
Thank you very much, Judge. Thank you, Jesse. And Eric, thank you. You guys enjoy Memorial Day. It's a good time to pay tribute to those who are working and have worked to protect our freedom and have lost and paid the ultimate price. So it's a solemn day.
Thank you, Senator.
All righty. Thank you.
Right, thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Let the Record Show is on the air.